Alright, so sign into the computer. Your username is administrator. And then the serial number at the top over here is going to be your password. I also have it written down right here. It is 6S37B94. There we go. That'll log you into the computer. And we'll hop into Empower, which is the software you're going to be using to run your instruments. The generic username is System Manager, but we'll go over how to make your different users. So if you go into the configure the system, this is going to be where you find your systems, your users, things like that. So you can see you have projects, you have your new project wizard, which is basically how you can create your new project. You can go through, set up your audit trails if you would like, different things, how you want to share them. You have your systems, so we have ARC, HPLC 1 and 2, which are already pre-built out for you. You shouldn't really have to mess with those very much. Your users, so this is where you can create a new user. Like that. You can create a new user up here, and this is where you can create your username, full name, which type you want, so you can like limit the ability to change things. And then the different interfaces, there are 3 different interfaces. There's a quick start, a walk up, and a pro. I'm on the pro interface, which will basically pop up different windows, but we can go through each of those when we go. You can restore your projects. So if you find that project from the sister site, this is where you're gonna wanna go, and you can kind of they can back it up and send it to you, and then you can restore it here, and then you have all your processes that you'll need. And you can also back up projects. So if I go into a project and I want to back up a project, I can back up one of these projects right here, just like that, with this little button here. All right. Let's see. I think that's basically it for the configure interface. This is basically where you can kind of just set everything up. All right. Now we'll get into the projects. So I'm going to open up this SQT project that I have, and we're going to run like the detector response, kind of show you. But first we'll look at our methods. So the instrument method is going to be what the instrument is doing during your run. So we open up our detector response, which is what I'm going to use to kind of base everything off of. It'll open up your instrument method. As you can see, you have your different consoles. You have the FTN, which is going to be your flow through needle, your sample manager, your QSM, which is your quaternary solvent manager. That's going to be your solvent, and then your detector is over here. But as you can see, they each do different things. You can set column temperatures, you can set your sample temperatures, you can set your column position, things like that. Your purge solvent, your wash solvent, different dilutions, different data to acquire. If you would like to make sure your sample and column temperature are okay, you can definitely acquire those. And different events. The events is really only going to become necessary in this detector, and I'll show you why in a second. The QSM, so as you can see, it starts at an initial flow, and then after about 26 minutes, it'll flow down to 0 from here. So you can see it's got a high pressure limit, a low pressure limit. You can set your mobile phases if you would like. You can set up a gradient, kind of miscellaneous stuff, and then what data you want. If you want the system pressure to be captured as you go, you can also do that. The detector, this is where you can, what wavelength you would like it at, what sampling rate, filter time, things like that, analog out and in. And then your events, this is going to be important. So as you can see, the event is lamp off. So I have your diverter here set to switch 1. So you can set that on and off, and that'll switch it between 1 and 2 for you guys. So that way you can kind of recycle your mobile phase that way. So that's going to be important for that. And that is the instrument method. You can create new instrument methods by going up here to new methods, and there's a bunch of different methods here for you. We'll go into processing method here. Here, I'll open up the instrument method. You can determine which instrument you'd like it for. And this is what you're going to see if you create your own instrument method from scratch. So see, once again, you can kind of see it. These are kind of set up basic. So it's kind of the same thing we saw before, but it's just gonna not be set up. So you can kind of set up how you like it. You can change your column temperature to whatever. You can change this to whatever, things like that. All right, so that's the instrument method. The processing method is gonna be how you process your data that you receive. So we open up the detector response processing method. You can see different integration algorithms. Apex track is usually what I recommend, but it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Minimum area, if you want it smooth. That's for mass spec things, but components, that's what you're looking for. So I'm looking at a caffeine peak. That's gonna come around 0.9 with a retention window of 0.6. Kind of matches, so you can kind of set everything up how you would like your data processed here. Okay, and kind of same thing, you can go to File, New Methods, open up a processing method, and you'll kind of see something very similar. The report method is how you want to print out your data, so you can make your own reports. Let's see, where is detector response? There it is. So we'll open it up, and as you can see, we kind of have everything highlighted here. I can actually show you a completed one here. So this is how we have ours set up. So you see you got your sample name, injection volume, your various things, and then this integrates to here. So you have a peak chromatogram here. So once you have your data in there, it'll create your peak, everything like that. So that is the report method. All right, we'll run down to method set. So this is going to combine those three methods, the processing, report, and instrument method, into one. You see this one has your detector response check. You have your default processing, your default report method. You can add those all here, so that way it automatically does it. And this just kind of combines everything together for your sample set. So this is going to be the real bread and butter. We open up our detector response. So see, we made that detector response method set. So this is going to tell it to run which instrument method you're going to run. So this one equilibrates for 2 minutes, and then it goes ahead and does one injection at 7 volume, and it injects your standards, and then it'll clear calibration, calibrate. So this is kind of where you build out your different injections depending on what you want. So you can do, like, you know, you said you had 25 different standards. You could do 25 lines of 25 different standards if you would like, and things like that. So that is that. Alrighty, so let's say we want to run. Now we've created all of our methods. We hit this little cake up here. We can go to run samples, or you can just go straight from the main page here. So let's say we hit the cake. I want to connect to HPLC 1. That's one I want to run on. Great, here we go. Takes a second or two to load as it gets everything online. Okay, here you're going to see your consoles. These are going to be your 3 consoles: your solvent manager, your sample manager, and your detector. The column heater is on the FTN here. So see, I got the column set to 40 right now, which is kind of how it was before. So let's say I want to load my method that I made. I can go up here to this, or you can hit File, Load Samples. We'll just click on this right here. So let's load. I want to load a previously created sample set. You can also use the sample set wizard, which will help you create a sample set, or you can do various other things. But since we already made our detector response, we'll go in there, open, and this will open up that same sample set method that you saw before. Equilibrate for 2 minutes, inject 1 for 2 minutes. Now, since I haven't done anything yet, I want to kind of start up the instrument. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here on the instrument method. Let's go down to our instrument method we created, the detector response, and we'll set up. And what this will do is it will start everything into the initial conditions. As you can see, it's lighting the lamp, it's starting the flow, and it's set the column heater to the correct area. So this will let it kind of equilibrate before you even get started. So everything is going to hit the initial conditions and you should be good. So you can see it's starting to pump, starting to go. So kind of give it a second or two to go. You also have this wizard. This wizard will help you create a sample set. So you can create a sample set method using an existing method template that you have made. You can do various other things. So we'll say, hey, I want to create a new sample set. We're using an LC. You can define your plates that you would like to use. You can set where you want your standards. Do you want them at the start? Do you want them at the end? Do you want them throughout? Do you want them before each sample group, around? Various things here. So we'll say no. We will say at the start of set, actually. We'll start those. So your standard levels, different standard levels are created, or have a different level of standard. Your number of vials in each group. Let's say we have 3 vials. Number of injections, we'll do 2 injections per vial. Injection volume, let's say I want to do 50 microliters. And runtime of a minute. And I want it on the detector response method set. So that, once again, that method set is going to be your processing, your report, and your instrument method. So this is going to be telling the instrument what it's doing during the sample set. Okay. Sample information. How many samples do I have? Well, let's say I have 15. Number of injections. I just want 1 injection. Injection volume, we'll do 50, and the runtime of a minute. Method set, you can change it up. We're going to say, hey, I want this detector response check method set as well. So we'll go on next. How should your standards be identified? You can do a column name. Not gonna worry about that. Column serial number. So you can keep track of which columns are on which sample sets. You can do prefixes or suffixes for your standards. Same thing here. Same thing there. Equipment ID. Yeah, these are all on there from that method set. So you can change each sample to be what you want it to be. There are lots here. And then you can say, hey, I want it to run only, I want it to run in process or run in report, and you can continue on fault. So once you have everything kind of set up, that's it. You can run your samples how you would like them. So now that we've given this a chance to kind of even out, so you want this delta pressure to be as low as possible. Usually under 30 is fine. That just shows that it's kind of equilibrated. It's kind of reaching a stable area, so we're not seeing like fluctuations in the baseline pressure through mobile phase. So now that we've seen it kind of drop, we can hit this green button, which means go. It's going to run that sample set. You can change that sample set name, and I'm going to do test sample set, and then we'll hit run. And here we go. So now it's starting to equilibrate. We'll see over here, we have the method set to just determine the detector. So we'll see it goes through that equilibrate phase. You can kind of see the graph. You're going to see a nice steady graph here. It looks like kind of crazy because you see it going up, but if you look over here at your y-axis, that's really, really not that much. And you'll kind of see once we go into the actual injection, it'll get crazy, and then the sample will hit, and you'll see a nice big peak with a nice flat baseline. So we'll go ahead and run this for a few moments. So one thing I wanted to point out while it's running here is while the QSM is going, you have your power LED and then your flow LED. So this shows that it's flowing versus this one over here is not flowing. So you see this one is not lit. Once this injection starts to go, this will light up green, saying it's running. And then also up here, this means the lamp is on. And you want to make sure you try to turn your lamp off when you're not using it so you don't burn it out. And this one, the lamp is off, as you can see. So you'll also see if there's ever any error on the system, which I'll force later, it'll start blinking red at you. So you'll see these LEDs on this side will start blinking. So see now it's injecting. So when it's lit up like this, we usually recommend you don't open this up, but you can as long as the injection is already through and it's just collecting the data. So once that's run, kind of just let it be. Okay, and now we should see this gradient here. So here we go. So there's our chromatogram. Once again, looks crazy, but our y-axis is really, really small. So and there's our nice big peak. As you can see, that crazy baseline just kind of evened out very nicely. So that's a caffeine peak that we're looking for. Once this injection is done, we can process our results and check our results over there. So you can see the sample set time. So you can see how long each set's going to take approximately using this here. Alright, so it is done. Now, since it's done, we can go over here. Now, this is once again in your projects tab. So this is where we opened up browse projects. We opened up this project, and there it is. Okay. So on this left side here, so we just ran this detector response today at 10:01. Okay. These three here, these three tabs are going to be your unprocessed data. Okay, so this is where it'll go. This right here is going to be your different methods that we went over. You can also sort them, so if you only want sample set methods, you can go, I only want sample sets. There it is, cool. I only want instrument methods, there they are. Things like that. And then these tabs here are going to be your processed results. So we ran the detector response. I want to process my results. I'm going to right click and hit process. Yeah. We're just going to say process results. There we go. It's going to process using the acquisition method. You can also use a specific method set, but we're just going to use that. Okay. So now it's processing. You have a little processing monitor here. This just automatically pops up, but it's waiting, so it's already done. So we'll go into our results sets. I'm going to hit update. And there's our detector response that we just processed. Along with in the results update, there's that caffeine peak updated, and same here in the peaks. See that caffeine injection that we ran. So with this, we can take our processed results and we can go into our preview publisher. This is going to bring up that report method. And I'm going to use that detector response report method. And then there we go. And that's my injection volume that I needed for my test earlier. But that kind of brings you through the whole thing. Here you can kind of print your results, do your various things. So you are good there. Alrighty. So now let's go back into our run samples. So it's still going. Let's say I wanted to set it for a different, milliminute, different solvents. Let's say I wanted to run through the C and D line. I can go here. I say I want it to run at 1 milliminute, and I want this to be 0, this to be 0, this to be 90, and this to be 10. And then we would hit next. There's a path 1 and path 2. With the Arc HPLC, you only go through path 1. So we'll hit check. If you notice, it'll start to go through our CD line at 1 milliminute. And you can kind of change your things there. Same here. So this button right here, this will turn your lamp on and off. If you're done with the detector, we can turn the lamp off, which I will go ahead and do. There we go, and you'll see this little light turns off, and same with that little light up there. That turns off as well. That's how you know that lamp is off. All right, let's say I wanted to change my column volume temperature. Well, let's say I wanted to do sample temperature. I wanted it at 15. You can go ahead and set it. You see the bottom will say 15. This is the actual temperature, so it'll start to drop here as we go. Okay, so this is kind of your console. But the cool thing as well is if you hit this button right here, it will open up the big console. So this is where you're gonna be able to find your serial numbers. So you can see a serial number on here, but they're also physically on the instrument itself. So the detector, your serial number is right there. And if you call the expert center, they may ask you for a serial number on there. There's one right here. And the last one is right here. So those are all your serial numbers. You can also find them on your console itself. As I said, you can just kind of hover over it. You can see your firmware version, your serial number there. There's not much on this front page. You can change your flow. You can change your stuff here. But if you click over here on the left side, you can get into kind of the nitty gritty. This is that quaternary solvent manager. Has a bunch of different things. If you would like to change those, you can go into plot properties. I usually turn off the percentages here of A, B, C, and D because you already know them up here. If you're running a gradient, they can be kind of useful. If you turn those off, then you can see the graphs kind of change, and we can see, pressure on the accumulator, system pressure. You see this is what you want to see with the primary. It's kind of these spikes like this, versus the accumulator should be very steady, along with the system pressure should be very steady. That's that. You can also stop flow over here on the console, or down here, stop flow now. So this would completely just stop the flow. If you have leaks or something like that, you can just immediately stop it there. It'll shut it off. Let's go over this. So if you ever suspect you might have a leak in your solvent manager, you come up here to maintain. In this quaternary solvent manager, maintain leak test. And this will say, hey, you should perform it when you suspect that you have leaks somewhere. We'll hit next. Usually want to run 100% organic through it, so either ACN or methanol is my go-to. Methanol is what these tests are built off of, so if you have methanol, that's great, which is my solvent B. So we'll hit next. Vent valve, so this will test everything to right here. So this is your vent valve in the QSM, and I'll go over this more in depth later, but that's your vent valve. So this will test both the pump heads basically here, and then you have the column as well. The column here will test all the way up through here, and we'll need to block this off with a little pin plug, but I'll show you how to do that later. And then you can choose to prime it. I usually pre-prime it, and then we'll hit next. And then it says, hey, please plug that pin plug, because we're doing the system leak test. So I'm not gonna start it because it's like a 10-minute test. It takes a little while for it to go. And we'll just kind of move on here. You hit this little plus here, you can see an interactive display, how everything's going. So you have your A, B, C, and D lines. They come down through the degassers into the gradient proportioning valve and into your pumps. So this kind of gives you an overview of what's going on there. That's that vent valve goes through. And then performance, probably won't really use this too much. And then we'll move on to the sample manager. So the sample manager has your sample temperature. So we set it at 15. So you can see it's starting to kind of drops here. So we're watching that. The column temperature looks kind of crazy, but once again, those y-axes keeps it right around 40. The room temperature, injection marks. So same thing here. If you add, you can add like sample loops and stuff like that. You go to volumes, you can create extension loops, change the needle size or your sample syringe. I think you guys will probably run on standard, but just in case, you can change those. If you want to add like a bigger extension loop on your needle and things like that. You won't really have to worry about any of these. You don't have a sample organizer or anything like that. Your big thing here is going to be prime. So you take this. This will prime your wash solvent for your needle wash. So after each injection, it basically washes it. And then the purge solvent is your actual injection. So that's what's going to be in this sample syringe right here. It's going to be actually what's flowing through. So I think we recommend it's usually pretty close to what you're running through your system itself. As far as it, like I use 90-10 water ACN because I was running at 90-10 water ACN on the actual mobile phases. So we can do that. So we can start it. It'll start priming, and you can also, in the little consoles down here, do the same thing. So you can prime it right here. If you just right-click this, prime, you can see the same thing that we saw before in the console. And I actually wanted to point out something on the QSM too. You can prime the QSM, so you have a startup system method if you want to. You can say, hey, solvent refresh. You can use last conditions and stuff like that. So that's pretty nice. Or you can prime your solvents here, prime your seal wash, wash your plungers. So we prime our solvents. You'll see this. This is going to be a big thing. If it hasn't run in a while, you probably want to prime your solvents. You can do it by line or by composition. So you got your, let's say I just wanted to prime B and D for 2 minutes, I could do that. And then I can set up my initial conditions when I'm done with that. So and if you do it, it'll start pumping. So I'm gonna set it for 1 minute so you can kind of see what happens as we go. Just have it prime that, so we'll start it. You see priming initialized. So you hear it start priming. So it pumps at 10 mils a minute. It's just gonna go through that B line that's the only one I checked that I wanted primed. There we go, it'll run for about a minute. We look over here in the QSM. You see it's kind of pumping down, and after a minute it'll set up the initial conditions I had set up on that prime. Again, the same thing up here in control. You can prime your different things. Priming the seal wash is pretty important. This will wash your seals. So here, kind of a slight clicking. Yeah, so it's been about a minute. So now it stops priming, and it sets up those initial conditions that I had there. See, that'll start to pump up. Stop the flow there. Okay, so now we're in the sample manager. I showed you how to prime, maintain if you're ever replacing a needle or anything like that. can do all your replacements here. It'll kind of tell you if your needle's changed or bent, what you need for those. And this, we have to remove the sample plate, so I'll do that. So take out this one. And so this is position 1. Hit this 2. I'll just flip it right around to position 2. We're going to do that. So we have our sample plates out. So now we can continue with our needle replacement. Confirm. Next. So this is going to move the needle into the service position. You can hear the needle move. It's moved, so we'll hit next. And then this kind of gives you, so this will open up the replacement. So this will tell you everything you need to know on how to replace your needle. Basically, it's right over here. You see it moved it right down here for you, so you can kind of just take the needle right on out. You can pop it out just like that. Lock it out. But everything is set up here, so you can do everything you need there. When we replaced our needle, it has been replaced, yes. We are using a 30 microliter needle. We just have a regular extended loop. And we're gonna skip replacing the needle seal. And it's gonna say, hey, you replaced that needle, you have to make sure you calibrate. But since we didn't, we don't have to worry about that. Alrighty. So there we go. And then the same thing, if we hit this little plus on the side, we can see the interactive display. This gives you the flow path of the FTN. So see here, so the QSM goes up to here, which goes to here, which will pump down. And it'll kind of flow through here and go all the way up to your detector. So it looks kind of crazy, but this is basically your needle, your flow through loop. So if you look here, you have your needle. This is your extended loop. This is the needle. It'll go here, all the way down, and then back up through here. And then it'll go down to your column from this line here into here. And I'm gonna go over all the fluidic pathways when we get to the instrument portion of this. But it's kind of the interactive display. It's a lot easier to see on the instrument itself here. So and this is the rotary mechanism. So that's that tray that we were looking at before. This is the UV vis detector. Same thing here. So on here, you have your lamp button down here. Over here, you have it right here. So let's go ahead and we'll turn the lamp on. You can also set lamp here. So turn the lamp on. So it should already be lighting though, so we're gonna let it go. Just a second. Might have stopped. Okay. Cool. You also kind of have your keypad up here, which I'll go over as well once we get to the instrument portion of this. So once it ignites, I'll show you how to calibrate, which basically just make sure everything is good. And that's basically the only thing with this. This one also has an interactive display, so you can kind of see different lights. So our lamp here bounces off mirrors, goes through the shutters, hits the grating through the flow cell, which is where your sample is going to be, and then it'll give you your results there. So, okay, lamp, green light means go, it's on. So, I'm gonna see, so we'll go to calibrate wavelength. This is gonna calibrate if you ever run into any issues that you think your lamp is having. You can calibrate your wavelength and start, and basically it'll just auto test it and it will tell you if it passes or fails itself. So if it fails, it'll be like, hey, this failed. This should pass, no problem. Should just take a couple minutes.